What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the MKP channel and welcome to episode 6 of this Leicester City career mode, where we will be welcoming Blackpool to the King Power. And one thing to note is we managed to get Brian on a loan deal to 3rd Division German side SC Verl. And I don't know why Thomas is on the T, folks. He's not even a starter. He's a bench player for this League One Leicester City team, but somehow he's managed to get himself a T4. He must have paid a lot of money to the groundsman to get T4, and that was the first chance of the game in the 10th minute to Blackpool, and it was well wide of the post from the corner, and Ballard, for our first chance of the game, hits the post, which could turn out really costly towards the end of the game. Mukasa sends his shot, I was about to say just wide, but it was miles over the bar. Not any danger for the Blackpool goalkeeper. And just before the half-time interval, Blackpool nearly take the lead, but don't. And that leaves the score at half-time, Leicester City 0, Blackpool 0. And straight away from the second half, all it takes is a through ball to Ennis, the Blackpool striker, and he just toe pokes into the back of the net. And it gives Blackpool a shock 1-0 lead at the King Power Stadium. And not long after, Ennis, again for the brace, scores to make it 2-0 in 55 minutes. And we could be looking at our first loss of the season. And instantly I decided to make some changes. And they worked. As Evans goes through, Ballard nearly scores. So the subs nearly worked. But Kapora gets it to Evans, and Evans actually goes for the pass, but somehow it squeezes past the Blackpool keeper into the back of the net, and we have a lifeline in this game between Leicester City, league leaders, and Blackpool, playoff chasers, who actually, as it stands, have the best defensive record in EFL League One this season. And I had to watch the replay because I was actually confused how that went in, because it was a pass, but in the end that goal didn't matter as we still went on to lose 2-1. And I wanted a big response in the effort. I know it's against Newport, a League 2 side, but I wanted to score a few goals just to get out my anger of the fact that we lost our first game of the league season. So we will not be going to this season as invincibles. But not long after kick-off, 4 minutes to be exact, it is Ben Nelson who managed to get on the score sheet from the corner to give us a 1-0 lead early on. And just about 14 minutes later, Alves manages to beat his man, passes it to Mukasa, and Mukasa gets onto the score sheet, kicks the corner flag, and we go 2-0 up against League 2 opposition Newport County from Wales. And again, not long after, 10 minutes later, Ballard, Super Dom Ballard, gets on the score sheet. Yeah, it's a tap in, but a goal's a goal. And we will take it any day of the week. And just before the half-time interval, just before the half-time break, Evans fires one into the roof of the net to give us a 4-0 lead. And you could say this tie is done and dusted, and we will be denying Newport County a ticket to the 3rd round. And just after the break, what a finish from Mukasa. This guy is some baller, man. I'm telling you, he is a player in this Leicester City team. Now, they held on for a bit, Newport, to stop us from scoring, and they actually managed to get on the score sheet themselves, which annoyed me a bit, so I was adamant I was scoring 6 in this game, and Marcel would confirm that we score 6 in this tie. I don't know why I paused there and I started speaking loudly because I thought my microphone was off. That would have been really annoying. But we head into this next game, a league game, massive game against playoff chasers MK Dons, or the big MK, the club everyone doesn't like because of what happened between them and Wimbledon. But we will be off to a fast start clearly the better side, and 15 minutes in, Daka would reward us from the pressure with a first goal of the game. Then Mukasa, just a few minutes later, would play to Evans. Evans would play to Daka, but it's a tame effort from Daka. It has to be said. A really tame effort that keeps MK Dons in the game. And I think they should have... I thought they scored here, to be fair, but they didn't, as it goes just wide of the post. And then we go to other end. Alves gets it across to Daka, and Daka gets his brace as he celebrates, as he makes it 2-0 half an hour into this fixture. And that'll be the last action of the half, as it's half-time score. MK Dons 0, Leicester City 2. And now, just a little bit after I actually thought the goalkeeper got there, I thought I took too many touches. Alves toe pokes it towards Daka, and Daka completes his hat-trick against the MK. And again, another fixture where it's done and dusted. But MK weren't going to let us just win easily. They managed to get one back. 66 minutes in, Callum Patterson. But that would be the only action of... That was the only action left of the second half, is what I was meant to say. And we would go on to win 3-1. Convincing win? Maybe, you could say so, but we were the better team. Into this next one against Doncaster. Doncaster actually started off the brighter of the two teams, as Gibson would get it across to Hanlon. Hanlon would manage to cut it across to Clifton, even though we had so many Leicester players around. And Clifton would put in the first goal of the evening this time round. But it wouldn't take us long, I believe. No, actually, it's a really good save from their goalkeeper. From their goal kick, we actually managed to win it. It's ping pong, just in the air. Managed to get to Mikasa. He plays it through to Ballard. And who's there again? Obviously Ballard, because I've just said. But Don Ballard gets on the score sheet yet again. And I would like to imagine he's scored over 30 goals this season. That's what it feels like, at least. But then again, Don Ballard is there just after the start of the second half to give us a 2-1 advantage against Doncaster Rovers, who were actually proving to be very difficult, even though they were fighting for relegation. Evans would be played through, and Evans would bag a goal. This kid is also special. He is a special player, and hopefully no big clubs come in for him, and hopefully we don't have to sell him, as he's one for the future. Daka would get played through. He gets another goal. That's 4 goals in 2 games now, I believe, as he comes off the bench this time rather than starting. Page would also play Daka through again, as he plays it across to Evans unselfishly, for Evans to get his brace and for us to kill off any Doncaster fight back that might have resounded. Don't know if that's the word, from that match. But heading into Burton Albion in the Cup, the Virtue Trophy, the trophy presumably not a lot of teams care about when it comes to career mode saves, when I've seen people do their saves. But Burton Albion, early on in the game, managed to get a 1-0 lead, a shock 1-0 lead, as I probably should have defended that better, but I didn't defend it better. And then Albion on the attack again, gets it across there, hits the post. That was a close one. Francisco is what I'm going to call him now, because I can't say his last name, but Francisco manages to collect, as that was a great chance, but saved. And then Burton Albion managed to squeeze it in. I can't believe this went in, you know. I mean, how did he squeeze that in? And stupidly. Braybrook, he's been one of the players of the season. Not the best player, but he's been one of the best players. Brings the Albion player down, and he misses. What is it with penalties and in my videos? Because they keep missing. But Keller should have scored. Could have scored, should have scored, but didn't score. 76 minutes in, Brian plays it across to Daka, and Daka gets one back for us to maybe inspire a Leicester City comeback. 80 minutes in, Daka again. It is saved. Absolutely great save from the goalkeeper. They celebrate it, but they shouldn't have celebrated, because from that corner, Herwerth scores to make it 2-2, and we find parity in this Virtue Trophy tie. And 90 minutes on the clock, Brian, who's going to go out on loan to Verl, manages to finesse it into the roof of the net to make sure we advance to the next round of the Virtue Trophy. The EFL Trophy used to be called Papa John's, Bristol Street Motors, whatever you want to call it. But we advance narrowly against the Burton Albion side, who are very resilient and tried to hold us off, but couldn't quite hold us off. And Ballard, I've just found out, 18 goals in the EFL League One season, only about 20 games in, I believe. But now we travel to Notts County, a match we should be winning on paper, but I believe they're like mid-table, so they're not that bad. Notts County, shock horror, us in away games, we don't start the better team. Notts County start the better team. That was a great save from Francisco, but we would go the other end. Ballard could have probably got closer, but he didn't. And it's a great save from their goalkeeper. But shock horror, Def, Taxis, and Dom Ballard there for either the tap-in, the rebound, the finesse shot, the power shot, whatever, he will be there. And start the second half, Braybrook gets on the score sheet. Again, like I said, being one of our better players this season, even though he was on loan at Newport County, I believe, last season, or was it Chesterfield? One or the other. And then Dom Ballard gets on the score sheet again. Would you believe it? Super Dom Ballard. He is becoming one of my favourite strikers in career mode this season. He just feels so nice to play with. But obviously, you know us, away games, we can't keep clean sheets. It gets cut across to Norburn, and Norburn puts it in the back of the net. And that would leave the scores at 3-1 at full time. Dom Ballard and Braybrook on the score sheet. Now, as it looks at the table, we still see top of the tree. Pretty clear, to be fair. And now we've got a big quarter-final tie against Sunderland Football Club. And now you'll be able to hear, I've got my audio back, because the first files got corrupted because my electricity went out. So that's why there was no audio. But now it's back. And Mukasa probably should have done better there. Tried to go near post, but skied it into Rosed. And honestly, we started this first half the better team. And Keller, with the goal, absolutely levers it into the back of the net 35 minutes in to help us take the lead against Premier League opposition Sunderland. Absolutely brilliant from Brandon Keller. I mean, the cut across, and then he just absolutely puts his foot through it, hits the roof of the net, and we lead 1-0 against the mighty Premier League Sunderland. But after that goal, I'm not going to lie, it was just one-way traffic from Sunderland. They clearly didn't like that we scored. Great chance from Rigg, I believe, who took that shot, but brilliantly saved by Francisco. And Enzo Lefebvre gets... I had to show this tackle. I mean, that's a bad tackle. Honestly, I thought he was getting sent off after that. But referee pulls out the card, but only a yellow card for Magoma, who is, I'd say, lucky to not get sent off. Because, oh my God, that challenge was ridiculous. Herwerth is there. That would have surely been 1-1, but he managed to get it clear late on into the game. And in the 80th minute, Diarra straight at the keeper, should have done better. Put it in one of the sides, and I reckon that's an equaliser. And somehow, League One Leicester City make it to the Carabao Cup semi-finals, where we will probably get knocked out, because we'll probably play one of the big six. But now we've got Burton Albion at home again. Now, hopefully, I'd love to score a last-minute winner and, win 3-2. But that's not what I want. I want an absolute thrashing of these lot for giving me a hard time last time. 16 minutes in, we're looking like we could go and do that as we make it 1-0 against the Albion very early on in the game. And a corner whipped in, and Nelson's there this time. Herwerth and Nelson are like our Gabriel and Saliba, I'd say. Deadly on the corners and good defensively. Not as good as Gabriel Saliba, obviously, because we're not in the Premier League. We're in League One. Evans was there to make it 3. I totally missed... No, the second goal was the corner, so yeah, to make it 3-0 against Burton Albion. And hopefully they don't make any comeback. Although Tavares manages to skip past his man and put it in the back of the net to maybe inspire a Burton Albion comeback. But that would instantly be denied by Brandon Keller, who's getting on the score sheet recently. Maybe another one of our better players this season. I mean, we've got so many best players this season. This team is just brilliant. We're going to absolutely go and storm this league. It's a ball over the top from Marçal. He tries to header it onto Evans, but ends up passing it to himself. And Ballard, of course, Def, Taxis, and Don Ballard scoring for Leicester City in that number 9 role. Absolute talisman in this League One season and our FA Cup, Carabao Cup campaigns. And that would leave the table at like this. We are currently sat 12 points clear of Plymouth as we renew Jake Evans' contract, as he's a crucial player for us, and we renew Alves' contract as he is a good player for us. Also, AFC Wimbledon up next. You could say the real Dons, the proper Dons, the good club, Wimbledon. And it was a great start from us as Alves manages to cut it across to, you guessed it, Dominic Ballard gets on the score sheet yet again as he smashes the corner flag as we take a 1-0 lead against a pretty decent AFC Wimbledon side, I'd say. And not long after, Alves cuts it across to Evans, and I thought he was going to miss, to be fair. I thought the keeper managed to get back in time, but he didn't. And we take a 2-0 lead in this fixture. Not long after again, Mukasa makes it 3-0, and it's looking like it's going to be an absolute mauling of AFC Wimbledon, the Dons, whatever you want to call them. I can't remember what their saying is. Up the Dons, we'll say. But we're not saying up the Dons, as we cut it across to Don Ballard again to make it 4-0 in 63 minutes. What a display from this team. Absolutely brilliant from us. But that would be it, as we would only win 4-0, and we move on to Barnsley, the second to last match of this episode, as we welcome Barnsley to King Power Stadium. And great start from us, a start we needed, as we know this Barnsley side is not one to push over, as if you remember from episode 3 of the series, they did push us to a last minute winner where we had Alves win in the last minute, and they did the same thing again. Barnsley managed to get an equaliser in the 32nd minute, I believe it was, and we now are pushing for another goal to let us take the lead. And Keller again, this guy is unstoppable at the moment in this episode and previous episodes, as he just can't stop scoring, as we take a half-time lead to have it be a 1-goal advantage, but 2-1 overall. And I thought the defender won it here, but he didn't, and Ballard gets it across to Braybrook. Ballard is not just the goal scorer, but he's the goal provider, as Braybrook gets on the score sheet. Pretty sure he's an academy graduate of Leicester, so it's brilliant to see. Now Barnsley here make a mess of it, passes it straight to Daka, who off the bench yet again gets a goal for us as we win against Barnsley 4-1, and we kiss the Yorkshire club bye-bye back to Yorkshire, to Barnsley, as we take the 3 points, much needed 3 points, as we head into this Bradford City game, who they are not a side to be pushed over as well, as we know in real life. They are in the playoffs. They were looking at doing a title charge against Cardiff, but they didn't. And we've just gone and done a Barnsley, you could say, as we've just 8 minutes in, not a good start, we've just passed it straight to the Bradford striker, I believe. Well, the Bradford attacker, it doesn't matter, he scored it. But we would go the other end 10 minutes later, and Don Ballard again from Leyton Orient. How did Leyton Orient let this man go? They didn't even try and get more money out of me. They just let him go, and he's an absolute bagsman. Braybrook, what a goal, lad. Postage and in. This guy just scores belters. He's just going to score belters for us his whole career. And we finally take the lead against a resilient Bradford. And we would then, not long after, take a 3-1 lead, as we are clearly the more dominant side in this fixture against Bradford City. It was a great block, but it went straight to us, and Evans probably should have got his brace. Yes, he probably should have got his brace, but he didn't. But it doesn't matter, because we've still got 3-1 lead. And 73 minutes in, Page manages to cut it across to, guess what, Dominic Ballard again. This guy's unreal. If you ever have a career mode in League One, or even the Championship to be fair, please, I beg of you to sign this guy up. He is an absolute lethal weapon in lower league saves. As Evans would finish the scoring, as he coolly slots it into the bottom left corner, as we win in the last match of the episode, 5-1. Absolutely emphatic win. And as you can see, next episode we've got a lot of fixtures. We've got the Carabao Cup semi-final, Virtue Trophy, and all of that. And we are 14 clear. But if you enjoyed the episode, please leave it a like and subscribe. And just remember, we've got Super Dom Ballard.